Hello, friends. Well, the dreaded announcement had been made that President Trump had the coronavirus. And of course, a lot of people around him, the First Lady, people, Kellyanne Conway, and of course, we are concerned for him. And this is the kind of thing that, shakes the confidence of the people, the nation. I said, talk about October surprises. October did not waste one day in bringing us a surprise. But anyhow, firstly, I just want to say that I said this gives us a wake-up call to know that we need to trust in God. If you were trusting in Trump to save us alone, then you've been doing it wrong. We are supposed to be trusting in God because we got to realize that, human beings are human beings. And Trump is a phenomenal leader, and we believe that firmly that God has sent him to us to help us clean up some of the corruption that has been festering in our nation for decades. But the bottom line is that we need to put our trust in God, because God is the one who's going to deliver us, and we must not be too dependent on humans. And I said we shouldn't use President Trump or any other politician as a crutch, because politicians are, they don't have that many years in office. At least they shouldn't, 4 to 8 years, and then they're done. We need to, keep our independent spirits alive and our pioneer spirits, and keep trying to improve our countries and our lives. And like I said, don't just try to put freedom on autopilot and expect other people to safeguard our freedoms. No, we have to be hands-on to preserve our freedom. So, and I said we have to trust God for the election anyhow, because it's coming up and there's so many things going on. And like I said, win or lose, we're still probably going to be facing civil war, let's be honest, and riots and everything for quite a while to come. So we need to strengthen our faith and pray and read our Bibles and just let go and let God, because there's just too much stress for any one of us to handle. And I said, I'm the queen of stress. I know, I've stressed myself out many years, but usually when the really big things come, that's whenever I'm calm. If it's a pain in my toe, I'm like, I am dying. But when it comes to, the whole president and his cabinet getting the coronavirus, I have a steady calm. I know, it's weird like that. But anyway, and further in about trusting God, this past week at our newspaper, the Minister's column, I do the proofreading and editing for the Minister's column too, and there was a very good column. And in it, the preacher talked about how back in the 80s, he had a chance to go on a missions trip to Romania, back whenever it was still under communist control, and about how he was able to fellowship and help the Christians over there. And he was saying, he asked the pastor, like, how does he cope with all of this? Because, his life is in danger just because he's a Christian. And the answer is pretty much, you have to trust God and not be afraid what man can do to you. And that's powerful. But and he was saying how this is how things are right now in the times we live, and we just really have to let go and let God. Put President Trump and his family and the Senates and Congress all in God's hands. So, I said the thing about this coronavirus, it has been politicized to pieces, like I said, and everyone has run around like a chicken with their head cut off. And these politicians, it's just so hard to know, or are they really trying to do a good job, or are they just trying to grab power? And increasingly it seems like they're just trying to grab power because perhaps they're just plain incompetent. And they just, as soon as they had any challenge arise, they just folded and collapsed. But I say that these politicians, if they think more lockdowns is going to help their career, it's not. Because it's just going to ensure that they are going to be voted out or impeached or recalled, or sued. I I just shake my head thinking of all the lawsuits that are going to come after this coronavirus is over, because people will be suing everybody. Everybody. I mean, from the people suing, from the thousands that will be suing Cuomo and Wolf for placing sick people in the old folks' home and killing their relatives, to the people who have been unlawfully detained and arrested and whose feel their civil liberties have been violated by the so-called lockdowns and measures. So lawyers are going to be rich as kings. I was watching Sky News Australia and Alan Jones' commentary on about how there's a beautiful graph. I will put it up for you now, about how the rate of the COVID deaths to the rest of the deaths. And I think one thing this illustrates, it shows that we are way too uncaring about all the other causes of death, and that should be improved. But he's saying, the COVID is still extremely low. So yes, there is a disease out there, and yes, it can be bad, and a lot of it's unknown. But like I said, the people, our governments, are just using this as a convenient way to seize power, and we must keep a very sharp eye. If people think that the government's just all doing this for our own good, with our best good in their hearts, ha ha ha. Don't be so naive. And that's the point. When all is said and done, will we find that it's really any more deadly than the common flu? That is still in play. I said I have kept an open mind on the subject, but I tend to think that the politicians have nefarious plans and plots, and I do not trust them. So, yeah, I know people are probably going to start talking about conspiracy theories about how the president happened to get the virus so close to the election. It does sound suspicious. I'm not necessarily a conspiracy theorist, but it sounds extremely suspicious. I could just see a little political cartoon of a radical lefty at the debates with a little jar or a little cage marked COVID and letting out the little bugs. That would be a good political cartoon. But so far, things look hopeful, and President Trump is strong, and we need to keep praying. I said God is using this time to help draw us closer to Him, and we got to realize that there are some things that have to be in God's hands. We can do as much as we can, get out and vote and protest and do all those things, but ultimately, God has to give us the victory. So, we need to keep praying for President Trump and our government, and we need to, become hands-on citizens and not put freedom on autopilot, because if you put it on autopilot, it's not going to be there for very long. There are always evil forces at work seeking to destroy us and enslave us, and we need to be aware and be vigilant. So, all right, so that's the message. Just, we got to trust in God and let not your heart be troubled. Let freedom ring.